Välkomna till Svenska kyrkans monter och Se människans scen. Vi ska nu få möta författaren, debattören, dramatikern Sofie Oksanen i ett samtal med Sara Blom, präst och fysiker. I ett samtal om skönhet, makt och magi. Välkomna. Okay. Och ska jag då säga att samtalet kommer att föras på engelska.
Thank you very much and welcome here, Sofie Oksanen. We're here to talk about your latest book, and you need the sound to be able to have both sound and picture. I hope you take it as a compliment when I say that this is a very different book, at least it was to me.
It was supposed to me as well. It was supposed to be as well, so yeah.
And about a different person, and her name is also the title of the book, Norma. Who is she?
Well, the title and the name as well, its meaning comes from Latin, and it actually refers to laws or regulations. So when I understood the meaning of this beautiful female name, then I thought that this is actually a perfect title for the book as well. It's dealing with beauty politics and what is beauty ideals. The protagonist is a person who is some sort of modern-day Rapunzel with unusual hair growth, and then about her adventures, or she's trying to solve the mystery related to her mother's death. On the other hand, there are a lot of new things, because this is a contemporary novel, and I have written historical novels. But then again, I do have, features or things I've done before. The book is also dealing with exploitation and trafficking, though a new kind of trafficking, but trafficking anyway. So in that way, those are the themes I've dealt before as well. And also the question about what runs in the family. Before, in my previous novels, I've written about the psychological traumas, how they affect the future generations. But in this one, we are more interested in the biological features in the person and how they run in the family.
And this is a lot about women's bodies, I would say.
Yes.
So do you think that women's look and the discussion about beauty, is society too busy with how women look?
In a way, yes. We are living in a world where we tend to think that we have much more liberties than we used to. And we do have much more rights than we used to have. That is absolutely correct. But on the other hand, at the same time, we are having more and more invisible restrictions, let's say it like that. Body ideal of today's is something that needs a lot of work, quite simply. Fitness ideal, for example, the idealization of visible muscles. So that's all something that, needs a lot of work. And in that way, it's pretty different, I'm sure, that the older generation feminists thought about that the future would look like. For example, when we think about corsets of previous generations and previous centuries, then we think that, okay, that was very bad for women. I mean, they had a very restricted life. But corset researcher Valerie Steele says that actually corset never left the world. It just is a muscle corset today. It's just something that we are forming out of muscles and visible muscle. And I think she's right about that in a way. Also, in a way, about what corset meant before. Before it was supposed to express your high moral. It was supposed to express your great nature. And because when you have a good posture, then you are, expressing your high morals, noble values. And now we are that you are a person who is a good person. And now when we are thinking about, this muscle corset, and the ideal of a person who is working out, then actually we are talking about a person who is taking care of herself or himself. So it is considered like something that you are taking care of yourself. You have good moral, and if you don't work out, if you get a little bit weight, then you are considered like a person who is somehow reckless or loose or bad person somehow.
But isn't also today's time a time when we strive to be unique and to be different and to express our personality in different ways? But on the other hand, there are just some ways to be different that are accepted.
That is true indeed. And when it comes to, for example, hair, then good hair is a hair in a right place. Yeah. Bad hair is a bad hair where...
especially for women.
Exactly, yes. I mean, hairy legs are not considered like proper for a woman.
So is hair important to you?
Hair is fun. I mean that's hair is fun, and I'm glad that modern society offers a lot of kind of opportunities to have or do whatever you want to do with the hair. But the problem with the hair industry, as such, is that there are a lot of ethical problems, and that's why I also wanted to write this novel, because hair industry has a dark side. Those women who are selling their hair, they are getting few dollars, and then the hair is sold to Western countries for thousands of dollars. So someone is getting the profit, and that's not those whose hairs are actually sold.
I would say that Norma is a person in hiding in the book, and she cannot show others who she is, and she has no close relationships. No friends, no lovers. What is she hiding from?
Well, she has these special features, and because of the special hair growth, which is the magical element in otherwise realistic novel. So this is something that she's used to hiding, and that's kind of her secret. So in a way, I'm also talking about... And it's a feature also that runs in the family, so it's a family secret. So in that way, I'm also, again, writing about family secrets, and I think I have always written about family secrets, so that's also something that I've done before.
Do you think that this is something that we do, most of us, that we hide our strange features from each other?
Well, I think everybody is hiding something somehow, or perhaps if not hiding, then we have a public persona and a private persona in a way. So in that way, yes.
This is a time when we discussed about being different in right or wrong ways, but it's also a time when certain groups of people are not accepted. We have these xenophobic right-wing parties that are gaining votes. Russia's passed anti-gay legislation, and many are worried about the presidential elections in the US. Is this a time to be afraid, do you think?
This is time to talk. I think so, because talk is a deed, a word is a deed. I think our very liberal Nordic system has allowed and has given a lot of space for hate speech. At least in Finland, many politicians are almost afraid of a radical right wing. They are afraid of saying anything about them because they are afraid of attacks, they are afraid of losing voters, they are afraid of all kind of things. And I think that's also kind of avoiding the responsibility. Our extremely liberal freedom of speech and freedom of expression is to be cherished, but it also is kind of something that those nations and groups and societies that are opposite everything we actually stand for, they can also take advantage of our freedom of speech. For example, that means that there is no one, that, for example, extreme right wing can be present also at the book fair.
Yes.
And also in Finland at the book fair, we've had pro-Putin publishers, for example, distributing their propaganda, and it's not illegal for them to be present. But you know, if someone tries to do something like that in Russia, then in a way you can't do that. So in that way, our society is also something that, you know, is easy to abuse in that way. And on the other hand, we have to think about it as even though it's open, then it's also our gift and our you know, something to be cherished. So in that way, I'm not hoping that that we are going to move to the society that is squeezing or shrinking its possibilities. But on the other hand, we need to learn to talk about hate speech. We need to talk about how words also are used in populistic politics, for example, and we have to be aware of that. And if we are aware of that, then we can also fight it back.
Do you see any hopeful signs of that today? These are difficult questions on a Sunday afternoon after 4 days of book fair, but important.
Yeah, well, when I think about how the first signs of Russian propaganda in Finland, for example, then I saw that Finnish journalists, they were really like surprised. They didn't know how to react. They didn't know what to do. It was a new situation. And well, now it's almost 10 years since it started, then actually now they are finding more tools, they are more aware. So in a way, they are also more prepared. So in that way, I'm not hopeless in that way, but it's just that, you know, it needs, it means also more work for journalists. Okay. And also that means that, you know, ordinary people need to be aware of what they are reading. Or what kind of news are they reading? Are they reading so-called fake news, which are, you know, news that look like news but are actually for propaganda use, distributed by extreme right-wing, pro-Putin somebody or whoever who has some radical purposes. So in a way, you have to be aware that everything you read is not, you know, news.
Would you say that in the Nordic countries this is quite new to us, a new situation? We are more used to trusting the news that appear.
That is true, but online world has also changed the game totally. And also, unfortunately, also all extreme groups, and now I refer to extreme right-wing, I'm also referring to Putin's Russia or pro-Putin activity. Then they also, I mean, they are not stupid. They are pretty clever. They also are able to use disinformation, that is, you know, distribute false information inside the real information. You know, when you really have to, you know, look for where the lie is, or if everything else, you know, looks like an ordinary news. So in that way, you have to be more aware. And of course, online world and online magazines, they are much more difficult to, in a way, to follow. For example, in Finland, we had a very popular online site or online magazine. It started as a humor site, and it was extremely popular. But then it started to share fake news amongst the humorous pieces. And it grew and grew more stronger, not only fake news, but also tainting journalists, especially focusing and targeting on journalists who were writing about Russia and refugees. So these were the two themes. And it became very aggressive. It affected in a way that some journalists didn't want to write their stories because that online magazine was digging dirt from the journalist's personal life. So, and there was no way to, because we do have a legal system as well. So in a way, you cannot say everything you want. In a way that they say, hate speech. We do have laws about saying things about people. But the problem is that magazine had its servers were abroad, and the money was coming from abroad. So in that way, Finnish legal system was pretty helpless what to do with it. But now, after years of fighting with it, then it actually is going to be closed down. So I think this is a good example of something that new situation. Something that is actually disturbing and targeting also our journalists, and we still can do something, even though it might look like that we cannot do anything.
It might take some time.
It just takes time. So in a way, we also have to learn, rules of the new world.
Okay, let's get back to the book. What genre would you say that the book is? Is it a thriller? Is it a murder mystery? Is it a fantasy novel? Or is that just etiquettes that are not important?
Well, I don't think about genre at all when I write. So in my opinion, it could be anything. But perhaps not fantasy, because it's realistic, even though it has some supernatural features, then otherwise it's realistic. So perhaps literally it's more like magical realism. But otherwise, I just hope that it's entertaining, that people want to read it and differ. So in that way, I don't actually want to put books in certain boxes.
And I don't want to reveal too much about the book, because I think that people should be able to read it and don't know exactly what is going to happen. But let me say this much, and it's a small spoiler, so if you really don't want to know, just close your ears. There is an unexpected love story. What is it that happens in the relation between men and women in your book? Because it's a love story between a man and a woman.
Yeah, well, I think you always have to have a love story in the book. In my all books, there's a love story, but I think they are always unhappy ones. Harold Pinter once said that a relationship or marriage, actually he was referring to marriage, is the smallest unity to explore power. And that is actually well put. So in a way, if you want to, and I am always writing about power and power relations somehow. So in that way, it's love story is also a good way to explore power.
That sounds not so hopeful, I would say, or.
Yes, but in a way, it's I'm not sure if, even though I have love stories and they are not usually happy ones in my novels, then in a way I'm afraid happy love stories are not that interesting for an author.
That could be it. Is the love story an answer to Norma's loneliness in the book?
Well, I don't know if that love story has a happy ending, so so in that way I can't say that.
I really, really enjoyed reading this book, and I hope people will too. It was like a journey. It started somewhere, and then I ended up somewhere else. What's it like to write a book like this?
It was fun. Writing usually is fun, but this was a different kind of journey in a way that I was doing a lot of things in the story. I didn't know what I wanted to do as an author. And I've always said that I don't want to write a contemporary story, and then I ended up writing a contemporary story. So in that way, it was also like exploring myself, what kind of author I am. But I'm also very happy that I did it, because I found a lot of new things about myself as an author.
What kind of new things?
Well, for example, the contemporary novel. I have avoided the contemporary novel because when you are writing about today's world, well, it's kind of tricky because you don't know what's going to happen tonight, tomorrow. It takes a year, 2 years. It could also take 10 years to write a novel. And then when you start, you don't actually know how long it's going to take to finish it. And you don't know if the themes and the story you have started up with, if it's going to have any importance after 10 years. You don't know that. But when you're writing a historical novel, then you actually know what has happened in the world. And also history is kind of, it's a platform. It's also kind of a character in a novel. It sets rules. You cannot, change the history, or then you are writing an alternative history novel, which is also a possibility, but otherwise, you have to stick to the facts of the history. And when you are writing a contemporary novel, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's actually what happened writing Norma as well, because I was writing about Ukrainian hair. And Ukrainian hair, because it's most valued, it's most expensive. Russian and Ukrainian hair is like, it's really wanted. It's the gold of Ukraine, you can say it like that. And the year was 2013. And then there was a revolution. Then the war started. And I understood that I'm writing about the hair in Ukraine, but if I now say the word Ukraine, everybody's thinking about the political situation and the war. So in a way, am I supposed to react to that? Is it strange that I'm not reacting to that in the novel? And then I ended up that sticking to the year 2013. And then it also started to make sense to me that, because when I'm writing about the hair trade of Ukrainian hair, then I am actually talking about a country before the revolution, and also in some way also about why that country ended up having a revolution, because it's a very corrupt country, and also because people don't have a lot of money, and those are usually the places where people have to sell their hair.
Thank you, Sophie. Our time is run out for us today. Thank you for coming here to our stage and presenting your book. And you will be signing it over there for anyone who is interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you.